So let's begin our lecture. Today we shall talk about phraseological units, phraseology of English language. Phraseology is a branch of lexicology. So what shall we do today? We will discuss about the main features of phraseological units, principles of classification of phraseological units, semantic classifications of phraseological units, and idioms and proverbs and sayings, the differences. So what is a phraseological unit? Phraseological units are word groups that cannot be made in the process of speech. Please switch off your microphone now. You may switch off your microphone. Okay, it's a bit noisy. Switch off your microphone. Do you hear me? Okay, phraseological units are word groups that cannot be made in the process of speech. They exist in the language as ready-made units. They are stable word groups characterized by a completely or partially transferred meaning and compiled in special dictionaries. It is a word combination or unit, phraseological unit or word group, in which the semantic unity reveals over structural separability. Phraseology as a branch of linguistics appeared in 1940s, and it is defined as a word groups that cannot be made in the process of speech. They exist in the language as ready-made units. Demek, phraseologic unit degende bular gapda, shu gap nutq davomida ularni shakllantirish mumkin emas ekan. Ular tilda tayyor holida ishlatiladi ekan. Idiomalar bor, maqollar bor. Ularni keyingi darsimizda yaxshilab tushuntirib beraman. They are compiled in special dictionaries. Some of you use the dictionaries of phraseological units or phrasal verbs. Do you have such kind of dictionaries? Demek, bularni o'rganish uchun maxsus lug'atlar kerak bo'ladi ekan. Sizlarda umumiy lug'atdan tashqari phrasal verbs degan lug'atlaringiz bor. Ana shunda ko'pincha yoki the dictionary of phraseological units. Ana shunday lug'atlar ham bor, shulardan ishlatib o'rgansangizlar bo'ladi. Phraseology studies phraseological units of the language. In our case, we learn phraseological units of the English language. Distinctive features of phraseological units are integrity of meanings. That is, the meaning is transferable in phraseological units. They are stable. They are stable grammatical, either in lexically and grammatically. The meaning is stable. And separability, the category of separability is used in phraseological units. Expressivity and emotiveness. Phraseological units, non-motivated words, they cannot be freely made up in speech. As I explained just now above, they are reproduced as ready-made units in our speech. Phraseological units structurally stable. They possess stability or lexical components, both grammatical components also, reproduce as single unchangeable collocations. Criteria to distinguish free word groups from phraseological units. O'tgan darslarimizda free word groups da o'tgan edik. Bular nima ekanini tushuntirib bergan edim. Ular bir-biriga juda yaqin bo'lgani uchun ular o'xshash. Demak, qanday qilib free group word group bilan phraseological unitni bir-biridan ajratib bila olishimiz mumkin ekan. Qanday qilib shu prosesni amalga oshirib bilamiz? We can differ them according to semantic criterion, according to structural criterion, and syntactic criterion. What is semantic criterion? Semantic criteria of free word groups in each meaningful component stands for a separate concept. Demak, free word groupda har bitta elementi word group deganda 2 yoki undan ortiq so'z bo'lishi kerak, bilasiz. Uni o'tgan darslarimizda tushuntirganman. Demak, har bir komponentida o'zini alohida ma'nosi bo'ladi, alohida ma'noga ega bo'ladi. For example, red flower, qizil gul. Demak, bu word group hisoblanadi. Phraseological units convey a single concept. Demak, bu ikkita element, mana ikkita yoki undan ortiq element bo'lishi mumkin. Bu elementlar ikkalovi qo'shilib bitta ma'noga ega bo'ladi. Ana shundagina ular phraseologic unitlar deb aytiladi. Ular alohida o'z ma'nosida ishlatilgan bo'lishi mumkin emas. Ulardan bittasi o'zini ma'nosini berishi mumkin, ikkinchisi unga tabiiy ma'noda ishlatiladi. Yoki ikkalasini ham ma'nosidan o'zgacha bitta ma'no kelib chiqishi mumkin bo'ladi. Inglizcha qiyinroq bo'ladi deb ham o'zbekcha ham inglizcha tushuntiryapman. Savollar bo'lsa berasizlar, yaxshimi? Hozircha yozib boringlar. Let's continue. What is semantic criterion? So, phraseological units are characterized by different degrees of semantic change. Semantic change may affect the whole word group. Complete transferred meaning. Yani to'liq ko'chma ma'no. For example, to skate on thin ice. It means to take risks. To skate and thin ice. They are not used in their meaning, in their own meaning. They are used in one semantic component and according to their degree of semantic change. Another example, to have one's heart in one's boots, to be anxious about something. Demak, bu yerda ham bir necha komponentlardan iborat, ikki yoki undan ortiq bo'ladi deb aytdik. Demak, ular bir necha komponentlardan iborat va bular bitta to be anxious about something bitta ma'noni beradi. Demak, shundagina u phraseologic birlik deb ataladi. So the second semantic criterion is in this kind of phraseological units, semantic change may affect only one of the components of a word group. It is called partially transferred meaning. Demak, birinchisida to'liq ma'no o'zgarishi, ikkinchisida qisman partially transferred meaning. To fall in love, small talk. Demak, birontasini ma'nosi qoladi. Masalan, in love bu holatda qolyapti. Fall bunga qo'shilib ma'nosi o'zgaryapti. Ya'ni sevib qolmoq. Fallni o'zi to'g'ridan to'g'ri tarjimasi nima? Yiqilmoq, masalan. Demak, bu yerda o'z ma'nosini yo'qotib, ikkinchi komponentni ma'nosi bilan birga birikib ketgan. Yoki small talk, etc. What is the structural criterion? There are different substitutions in structural criterion. The first is restriction in substitution. For example, free word groups. In free groups, components may be changed. Demak, o'zlari alohida keladigan guruhlarda, so'zlar guruhida u komponentlar o'zgarishi mumkin. Masalan, the cargo ship vessel is carrying coal to Liverpool. We may use either ship or vessel. Ko'rdingizlarmi? Komponentlar o'zgarishi mumkin. Mana bu yerda ikkita sinonim so'z turibdi. Yoki shipni olishimiz mumkin, yoki vesselni olishimiz mumkin. Carrying coal to Liverpool. Liverpool'ga yoki Manchesterga. Demak, komponent o'zgarishi mumkin. Bu free word group. Bu yerda frazeologik birlik hodisasi uchramaydi. Mana bu holat esa bu yerda phraseologic unit, frazeologik birlik berilgan. No mean can be replaced without destroying the sense. Demak, bu yerda berilgan so'zlardan birontasi o'zgarishi mumkin emas. Mana bu oddiy gapda buni o'rniga bu, buni o'rniga bu sinonimlar berish mumkin edi. Frazeologik birliklarda esa bu hodisa kuzatilmaydi va yoki u o'zgarmaydi deb ayta olamiz. Demak, frazeologik birlik to carry coals to Newcastle bu Angliya Amerikada juda mashhur frazeologik birliklardan iborat. Demak, bir narsani aytishimiz mumkinki, har bir frazeologik birlik bu tarixiy voqealar, biror bir mamlakatning odatlaridan, urflaridan kelib chiqqan holda ishlatilishi mumkin. Phraseological units or idioms, as they are called by most Western scholars, represent the most colorful and expressive part of the language's vocabulary. It reflects the nation's customs, facts, traditions of the past history. Demak, mana shu yerda bittasini tushuntirib o'tadigan bo'lsam, mana bu veb-saytga kirsangizlar, hozirna internetimiz yaxshi ishlasa, mana kirib ko'rsataman. Bu juda yaxshi veb-sayt. Mana phrase finder, demak, frazalar. Mana bu yerda yozilgan. Carrying coal to Newcastle. Bu juda ham mashhur bo'lgancha alohida berib qo'yibdi. Mana idiomalar, idioms in their origin. Yana synonyms, phrases and sayings, proverbs, English proverbs, origin of phrases, meanings, famous last words, phrases, these are discussions, etc. Bu juda ham juda qulay bo'lgan website, bundan bemalol foydalansangiz bo'ladi. For example, in our case, carry coals to Newcastle. So what is the meaning of this idiom or of this phraseological unit? So the origin, it is connected with the history. For example, Newcastle upon Tyne in England was the UK first coal exporting port and has been well known as a coal mining center since the Middle Ages. Demak, mana shu Newcastle da juda ham ko'p coal nima? Ko'mir boyligi bor bo'lgan va mana shu ko'mir butun dunyoga Newcastledan boshqa o'ziga yaqin bo'lgan mamlakatlarga, masalan, Amerikaga, Germaniyaga ana shu ko'mir yetkazib berilgan. Ya'ni juda ham Newcastleda ko'mir juda ko'p. Ularga hojat yo'q. Demak, carry coals to Newcastle degani bu qanday qilingan? Alo, eshitib turibmi? Demak, bu kinoya sifatida aytib turibdi. Kinoya sifatida aytib turibdi. Demak, mana shunday qilib biz ishlatsak bo'ladi ekan. Davom qilamiz, vaqtimiz juda ham oz, 10 minut vaqtimiz qoldi. Siz chunki kech kirib turibsizlardan. Keyingi structural criteria introduction as additional components. Demak, bu yerda additional component, ya'ni qo'shimcha komponent berilishi mumkin ekan. The big ship is carrying a large cargo of coal to the port of Liverpool. Bir necha element. Yoki the white elephant. Bu yerga phraseologic unit bo'lgani uchun bu yerga the big white Başka element çalmayımız. White elephant berişimiz şart ve başka yol yok. Structurally, bu yerde grammatik. Free word group bularda köpçilik buluş mümkün. There can be used both singular or plurality, but in phraseological units, we cannot change. We may not add singularity or plurality. So approach, semantic, functional, contextual approach are very concretely given here. And there are transferences of phraseological units. They can be based on similar. What is similar? You know it from stylistics, as pretty as a picture, or to fight as a lion. They are phraseological units based on similar. Phraseological units may be based on metaphor. For example, flock at that force, join as a majority, etc. Phraseological transference can be due to based on metonymy, synecdoche, and there are different types of phraseological units are defined in lexicology. So, phraseological fusions. What is phraseological fusions? They are completely non-motivated. For example, white elephant, expensive but useless thing. Phraseological fusions. Word groups with completely changed meanings. They are not motivated units, but we cannot guess the meaning of the whole meaning from the meaning of its component. Demek bu o'zgarmas birliklar ekan bularning hammasi. According to Kunin, there are different ways of forming phraseological units, primary and secondary meanings. And according to Vinogradov, there are phraseological combinations, units, fusions, etc. And according to Smirnitsky, there are different types of phraseological units are given, are classified. I want you to pay attention to the comparison of English and Uzbek and Russian phraseological units. For example, in Uzbek, otday bo'lmaq. In Russian, здоровый как бык. Demek, otday bo'lmaq degani bu sog'lom bo'lmaq. Demek, bizda bu birlik horse, ya'ni ot olingan. Ruslarda bo'lsa bull, ya'ni byk olingan. Boyagi aytib o'tganimdek, bu narsalar, bu frazeologik birliklardagi ishlatiladigan elementlar har bir xalqning traditsiyalari, urf-odatlari, tarixi bilan bog'liq. Yoki yana bitta misol, qulog'iga lag'mon ilmoq. Lag'mon noodles bilasizlar, bizda lag'mon deyiladi. Ruslarda ham xuddi shunga o'xshaydi. Veshat lapshu vuxa, noodles lapshu, lag'mon ikkalasi bor. Demak, ularda ham bor shu traditsiya yoki custom. Yoki ularda yana bitta nimasi обводит вокруг пальца. Demak, barmog'i. Demak, lag'monni ham ishlatishda mumkin ekan ular, yoki barmoq ishlatyapti bu yerda. Demak, ana shunday frazeologik birliklar bilan biz elementlarni o'zimizni tariximiz, o'zimizni urf-odatlarimizga ko'ra ishlatsak bo'ladi ekan. The methods of translating phraseological units. It's very important to consider according to their most colorful and expressive parts and their reflection in the nation's customs, facts, traditions of the past history. Otherwise, if we don't know the traditions and customs of this or that nation, we cannot use it as a translation. We cannot do the correct translation. So, phraseological units and free word combinations. Criteria for both free word combinations and phraseological units. So the criteria, as we have already mentioned above, existence in the language as a ready-made unit, idiomaticity, structural invariability. So these criteria are not used in free word groups. They doesn't exist. They don't exist in free word groups. In phraseological units, they are peculiar to these criteria are peculiar to phraseological units. So there are some more informations for you. For example, Vinogradov's classification of phraseological units, phraseological combinations. It is understandable according to the meaning of one component. Phraseological unities, they are united. For example, old salt. How do you translate the phraseological unit old salt? We cannot translate it. It means a very experienced sailor. Sailor, who is sailor? You know, sailors work in big ships or boats which sail in sea. You know, the water of sea is very salty. According to this component, the old salt phraseological unit is appeared. Another examples for phraseological fusions: to cut somebody dead. What does it mean? It means to pretend, not to know or recognize somebody. Demek bunu mana bildiradi. Siz oldindan tanigansiz, siz odamni taniysiz, lekin uni tanimaganga olib turibsiz. Uni tanishni yoki ko'rishni xohlamaysiz. Shuning uchun siz uni ko'rmaslikka olib ketmoqchisiz. Ana shunday ma'noda kelgan frazeologik birlik. Demak, boyagi aytib o'tganimizdek, komponentlardan bittasini ma'nosiga ko'ra, uni ma'nosini tushunib olsangiz bo'ladi. Demak, bu phraseological units yoki combinations deyiladi. Keyingisi phraseological unities, demak bu birorta mana shu to play the first fiddle. Demak, bu yerdagi bironta elementga ko'ra uni ma'nosini anglab olsangizlar bo'ladi. Phraseological fusionlarda bo'lsa, bu yerda hech qanday element yo'q. Uni faqat bilib, yodlab olish kerak bo'ladi. Undan nima qilib ola olmaymiz. Tarjima qilish, so'zma-so'z tarjima qilish mumkin emas. Okay, if you have any questions, you may go to our Moodle platform and write to the chat. Okay? Vaqtimiz tugadi. Iltimos keyingi safar ertaroq kirib, tayyorlanib o'tirishingizni so'rayman. Ko'proq informatsiya bera olmay qolyapman, shuning uchun iltimos. Savollaringiz yo'qmi? Vaqtimiz tugadi. O'zi 40 minut vaqt beriladi. 10 minut sizlarni kirib qilishingiz uchun berdik, lekin hozir endi u vaqtimiz ham tugab qoldi. Ko'proq aktivroq bo'lishlaringizni so'rayman. Iltimos o'zingizning guruh kanallaringizda yozinglar. Men priklishga qilib oldim qatnashib turganlarni. 7 gina odam qatnashib turibdi bu yerda, boshqalar yo'q.